Hello and welcome to episode 5 with Stewart Donald. You've been on it 5 times now. I should have brought you a plaque.
Blimey, yeah, 5.
Should have got you a McGangbang little trophy.
Yeah, we can work on that.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get a McGangbang today, but Stewart has pied me off.
Very sorry.
Yeah, what was it? You got to see Jack?
Got to see Jack, yeah, so hopefully you'll forgive me for that.
Yeah, but we're going to do it tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to do it tomorrow. Cool. So we've got so much to talk about, so I ain't going to bore everyone with shit banter. I'm just going to jump straight into it. So we'll start season so far. Played at the weekend against Southend. Big 3 points. What did you make of the game?
Yeah, I thought it was another decent performance. First half was a little bit bitty. Second half, once Chris has got the second goal, I relaxed and enjoyed the game, which doesn't happen very often. Scunthorpe was the same, I think, at home when we were 3-0 up. Because when you got the one goal, it's tense, and I don't think my heart rate probably gets down below about 150. So, but once that went in, I felt we were pretty safe. No, it was enjoyable for me. Yeah, it was good, and it cements us really well into the top 3, which is important.
Do you like the King Maguire, as he's been dubbed now?
Well, if the fans will hopefully get names for most of the players and get a rapport with them, and Chris seems to have gone to their hearts. I thought he would thrive in the environment. He responds well, I think, in the big games, and I think a few people have mentioned free signing, etc. But he's been a good signing for us so far. So touch wood, he'll keep building on that.
We've only lost 1 game this season, unbeaten
Yes.
at home. In terms of your expectations, I mean, I know you have touched on this already, but I mean, is that in line, or we're doing better than what you thought?
We're doing better than what I thought we would do. You don't really know. You expect coming down, the team's probably got a little bit more quality than the league naturally. But because there was such a big turnover and sort of a dozen new signings or whatever it was, you don't know how they're all going to gel. It's a new manager. There was lots to do. I think, if I'm honest, I was hoping that at this stage we'd probably be, on the edge of the playoffs, in touch, and then second transfer window, which I'm sure we'll come on to in January, would have given us a chance to kick on. And I thought that's where we would be. And I think it's easy to say you can't win really, because everyone's expecting us to do well. They'll knock us if we don't, and we won't get the praise we deserve. It'll all be down to the size of the club and the expectation. But I think from what Jack came into to how at this stage it looks like we've managed to stem that and go in the other direction, I think we're definitely above my expectations. And I think the whole team would say that they've said we want to win the league. We do want to win the league, but there are half a dozen other teams that realistically can look at that, who've had a far more settled environment in which to start their season. So for us to be, a game in hand away from being top, I think it's a fantastic start for us.
Are you enjoying the style of play? I mean, if it's for me, I don't feel like we're out of second gear yet. I still can see. I've seen every game we seem to have half an hour where we're brilliant. We haven't put that together in a 90-minute performance yet. So when that happens, somebody's going to get beat 6-7-0. In my opinion.
I like the players. We got some exciting players. I mean, we touched on Chris. Chris is an exciting player. Lyndon is exciting. Josh is exciting to watch. The 2 centre backs, seem to be forming a partnership, and it's nice to watch them. Clatter the old player, and
it's brilliant watching Flanagan and Baldwin together, because they're very similar, but they complement each other so well. They're both, at the minute, it feels like they're not losing the aerial battles. No. Very good last-ditch tackling.
Yeah.
Decent passes of the ball as well.
Yeah, they're
perfect defenders.
They're a fantastic base for the team, along with the goalie as well. So, it makes us strong down the middle. The midfielder's done well, especially, to be fair, Lee Catamol. He's done ever so well. So with him and the 2 centre backs, the goalkeeper, you've got a real core down the team. So no, we haven't put probably a fluid 90 minutes together, etc., etc. Very rarely actually does that ever happen. Normally in every game, both teams have a spell, so you don't always get, and it's very, very rare do you get, a team dominate an entire 90 minutes. But we have exciting spells in matches, and even when it's not exciting spell, that we could possibly just be 2 minutes away from an exciting spell, and there are some great things to watch. Different people like different things about the game. The crunching tackles. Gucci when he goes on his runs. There's plenty of things to enjoy about our football, even if it's not quite, Barcelona-esque at times.
We've got a tough run coming up. Well, Plymouth this weekend, which will be difficult because of geography. Then cup game, but then we'll go against Portsmouth coming up and a few other promotion rivals. So do you think that's going to tell what we're going to be?
I think we've got Accrington, haven't we, in Barnsley? We got.
Feels funny having Accrington as a promotion rival.
Yeah, well, they've started ever so well, but we've had some tough tests already. Although Bradford are down the bottom of the league, Bradford's never an easy place to go. We've had 3 away games on the bounce and won them all. In any league, that's a fantastic achievement to win 3 away games on the bounce. And I think it was the Peterborough game that was before that, or whatever it was, and I thought, where we dropped a couple of points because they're sending off, and I thought, we now because the other game's going to be called off, we've got 3 away games, that's going to be tough. But we've picked up 9 points in those away games, and that's put us right in there. So I think we're already looking like we're going to be at the right end of the table, touch wood. Obviously, January will be important. Keeping the players fit is going to be important. But I think we've played some of the teams that are at the top, and we've done all right. I don't think we've got to fear anybody. We've just got to make sure we turn up every week.
We've had a reader ask about incentives. So is there any sort of bonuses in players' contract if we do get promoted?
Yes.
Yeah. Is that sizable? Worth playing for?
Yes, yeah. It's within what's reasonable for Sunderland Football Club in League One. It's a good League One bonus, but it's not. It's now in keeping with the teams at the top. I think we tried to find out what Blackburn and Wigan's etc. had as a bonus structure, and clubs like that who'd achieved, and Sheffield United, and we think we found out roughly what they were doing. And we've done something similar, so it's fair. It's not ridiculous. We haven't got a huge bonus structure because it's Sunderland, which is exactly how it should be, but it's a fair reward for what hopefully will happen.
I want to talk now a bit about Jack Ross. We've not actually talked about Jack Ross in length, I don't think, on this podcast, but he seems to be doing a good job. How happy are you with the way he's changed, the on the pitch and off the pitch so far? I'm
delighted with Jack. I was pretty sure that I would be, having spoken to him obviously before we appointed him. He struck me as having all the right attributes that Sunderland needed, and I think in some ways, if I look at myself, I'd say that I'm the right person for Sunderland at the right time. I think Jack is just the right person. I just think he's going to be a very good football manager, which is why we chose him for this football club. I think he's tactically very aware. He's a good man manager. He's hardworking. He's diligent. He's fair. He's thoughtful. He's very bright. And I think he's got all the attributes that you need to be a really good, successful modern day manager. And as with all those things, I'm sure even when Alex Ferguson was winning the leagues at Man United, there are fans that would make different decisions to him and play Beckham instead of Ronaldo or whatever it would have been. And I'm sure that will happen with Jack. People will
have
say,
Ronaldo.
Why has he played so there?
You're gonna have to hold that
one. But I'm sure that fans will question his substitutions at times or whatever it is. But I think overall, he is potentially a very, very good manager, and I think he's done exceptionally well for us. And he's had a lot to deal with.
Former Shrewsbury boss Paul Hurst sacked last week by Ipswich, and I have a feeling that he could have been here, and Jack Ross maybe could have been there. How how different do you think it would have been if Hurst had ended up at Sunderland?
I don't know.
Was that likely to happen?
Well, Paul Hurst would have been on our list if Jack had gone to Ipswich, and I don't think it's probably not much of a secret that Ipswich were quite keen on Jack, to put it mildly, I think. And we did well to persuade Jack, I think, in honesty, that we were, although a league below, the natural choice for him. So I don't really look at it beyond that, because you can always sit there and say, well, if, what, and maybe. I don't know. It's a shame when someone loses a job, but I think I don't really know much about Ipswich other than what you hear on the grapevine, which is Mick McCarthy did do a good job there under more difficult circumstances, and sometimes, as is the way in football, you don't know how well someone's doing till they're not there anymore, and perhaps Mick was a bit unlucky, and Paul Hurst has gone in off a fantastic year at Shrewsbury, and he might have needed more time, who knows, or he might have underestimated the job, or it might just not quite fallen right for him. I don't know, but he'll find another job. I know him from what he did at Grimsby, and he's a good, bit like Jack. He's a good young manager. But once I'd spoken to Jack, it was only ever Jack, really, because he was that impressive for me, and that's why even when other clubs were showing interest in Jack, and it had to all be done very quickly, I just very much tried to sell him Sunderland.
He's obviously got ambitions to manage in the Premier League. I think he's even talked about potentially managing Scotland in the future. Mm-hmm. How confident are you that Sunderland can meet his ambitions and that he can stay here for years to come? Do you see him as your manager for the next,
Well, we want Jack to manage in the Premier League, because we want him to manage us, don't we?
Yeah.
So we want to fulfil his ambitions with us, and that is entirely possible. There are not many clubs that you're going to leave Sunderland for, I don't think. And Jack, although it's new, I think he likes his working environment. I think he loves the football club. He likes the area. He's committed to come here. Who knows what the future will be? But at the end of the day, we are how many games into the season?
15.
15. So he's managed us for 15 games. So, quite where we'll be after 100 games, I don't know. But, he's made a fantastic start. But, it's where we are at the end of the season. We hope and think Jack is the man for Sunderland for the next however long we can keep him here if he keeps performing. But it's early days yet to worry about what's going to happen with Jack Ross.
I think in turn, I think he signed a 2-year deal.
He's got a 2-year deal, but I believe he's got a year's extension if we get promoted.
Right. So plans to extend them probably not in the pipeline. I didn't know if it was a 2-year with the third.
It's a 2. Yeah. I think he automatically gets a year if he's successful. I'm not sure if he's really successful, he gets another year as well. I can't quite remember, but I know it was because we don't look beyond that. I'm sure he's got a 2-year deal with a year's extension. Should we go up?
No worries that another team might sniff at him. I don't know, Celtic, who might sack Brendan Rodgers.
You can't control what happens at any other club, and at the end of the day, we want Jack to be high profile, because if he's high profile, it means Sunderland are doing well. It's then our job to show him that we're the football club to be at, and I would have thought for 9 out of 10 clubs that's going to be the case. Look, if Man United sack Jose Mourinho and we're top in the Championship and they go, we want Jack Ross, that's going to be tough to persuade him that we're a better option than Man United. But all we can do is sell what we've got and give Jack the best working environment we can. And he's a good, honest guy, and he'll give us 100%, and I think he'll stay as long as we need him to, hopefully.
I want to talk a little bit now about the summer signings. Most of them have had an impact, positive impact. Whether that be Chris Maguire scoring an absolute thunderbolt at the weekend. But who
Not
do you
too
think?
bad business, Connor.
Yeah,
Some of them,
I would say
eh?
it's a decent signing.
Yeah.
Deserve a pat on the back. Who deserves the credit for the Chris Maguire signing?
Well, I think getting him in on the basis on which we got him in, Richard and Tony Coating deserve the credit because they've organised the deal. But I mean, Chris himself deserves a lot of credit because he was straight on the phone. Charlie and I knew of him, and we mentioned him straight away to Jack, and Jack was yes, he knew of him, because he'd obviously played in Scotland. So I think it was just one of those things where, to be fair, Chris had called us. I'd already mentioned Chris to Jack, and it just came together in a very quick couple of days, where Chris has shown an interest. I'd mentioned it to Jack. Jack had said, yes, I know him, let me just check a couple of things, which he did. And then we threw it over to Richard and Tony and said, let's try and get a sensible deal. And to be fair, Chris was very reasonable, and just wanted to come. And we knew what type of character he was. And as I said to you, I think in the first podcast, he'll thrive at Sunderland. If you get Chris at the top of his game, he's a fantastic player. And different things make different players tick. And I don't know, you'd have to talk to Jack about his squad, but the judgment you'd make as a fan, which was the judgment that we made, because obviously they're the qualified guys, was that Chris Maguire likes big games. He's quite confrontational. He's
A wind-up merchant.
But all the players get wound up by the opposition fans. So if he gives a bit back, as long as it's done in the right way, fair enough. And of course, the fans love that. But he's given 100% for the football club, and that was the first prerequisite. And what we've got to try and do is sign good players that are good characters and good people, because you need all of that. There's no point having a good player who's not the right type of character, and there's no point having a good character who's not a good player. And our view of it was, as fans, if you like, if it was Charlie and I, that we would recommend Chris, having watched him, because we knew he was sort of a big game player, and we thought, one of the issues with Sunderland is, especially with potentially how we'd heard the fan base could be at games if it's not going well, you need people that puff their shoulders out, and if they make a misplaced pass, it doesn't faze them. And to be fair, in the first game, Chris gives a penalty away, and basically throws in a man of the match performance, because he's a strong enough character to do that, and that's what this football club needs. So I think it was if I would say it was a team effort, and that sums the football club up.
It's interesting that you bring up the fans there and the environment. This year at the Stadium of Light has been alien compared to the last 3 or 4, and that, I suppose, is a testament to what you've done. But I think also Sunderland fans just need that fresh change, and I think players like Chris Maguire just represent what we haven't had for years.
Well, I mean, you look at the stats. I mean, the Sunderland support, bear in mind what the fans have been through, is unbelievable. I don't think there's many places in the world that would have had the last few years that Sunderland fans have had. Yet, to be fair, before a ball was even kicked, they were ready to give us a chance. They'd back the club by buying the season tickets. They'd come in, first game, let a goal in. Oh my God, give a penalty away. They could so easily have gone, and they didn't. And they've gone with us, and they've shown some faith, and they've shown a commitment, which I think they probably were always going to show, because you want to believe that your team is going to try for you, and once they've seen that, they've responded. So you could forgive Sunderland fans for thinking, oh, it's another false dawn. Oh, it's, I've heard all this before. But they didn't. They gave us a chance. They gave the players a chance, and I think you can see now. And I saw Saturday, which was really pleasing. I think you get a feel. I went down there. There's a bit of a belief from the team now that you get the vibe that Jack and Co have told them at the start of the season. Be part of something here. We can do something. And a few of them probably went, yeah. And now you get a feeling that they're just starting to get that taste of winning and victory, and they're starting to believe that actually we got a chance of doing something here. and you get a feeling they're starting to lift, and that's a nice place to be around.
Who do you think's been our most impactful signing?
Ooh, well, recently the goalie.
Yeah.
He's been fantastic. Maguire. I mean, Josh Madger's been. I don't know. I mean, Madger scored the goals. Gucci is exciting to watch on the wing, hasn't he? I like Max if he can start behaving himself. You know, he made a fantastic impact to Luton. I thought, you know, I was worried because I think we might have had a couple of injuries or whatever it was, and I think Dylan was injured, and I thought, oh, you know, and Max came in having not known the team, and I thought he had a great sort of early impact, and I'm sure he will. And you know, Jack has had a big impact. I think there's 5 or 6 of them. I don't honestly think, I'll have to sit on the fence because I don't honestly think I could particularly pick one out. I mean, Chris is getting, you know, he scored a couple of scored a couple of belters, hasn't he? So you look at that, but you know, I like the 2 centre halves because I like to feel that my players are you know, going through and making the opposition know that they were around, because I think especially in this league you need, you know, you need to show that you're not going to be sort of knocked off the ball and, you know, battled out the game, and I think they've really done that.
With your recruitment, Flanagan and Baldwin, 2 centre backs, cost you what? Not even $250,000.
No,
and
no.
You know, they're going to be players that you would hope, you know, when we do get in the Championship, which is a win,
yeah,
that they'll be able to stay. So I mean, does that sort of testament your recruitment?
Well,
team?
I think I mentioned it, I think, on Twitter the other day. I mean, Flanagan and Maguire were under contract, and you know there is talk of fees, and we've got them out without paying a fee. I mean, then they're under contract. It's not like they were just let go by their clubs. You know, they were under contract, so you know we've got them out. You know, Jack, Barry Fry was talking to me in the Peterborough game, and you know, it is, you know, Barry probably would do that, but he said, you know, you've stolen him off me, and we fought hard to get that price down. Same with Charlie Walker. I know we've not seen much of him, but we were patient on that, and we could have bought all these players in the first 2 weeks of the end of the season when everyone's clamouring for us to make a signing, and we'd be a little bit worse off.
You were saying once you were panicking because you know you wanted them in.
Yeah, but luckily the people that, you know, we brought into the club just told me to mind my own business. They know what they're doing. You know, we brought them in for a reason. They know how the market works. Leave it to them. They'll get us the players. If we're patient, they'll come. And you know, that's what we've done. And we've done pretty good business, I think. You know, and they're all on, you know, decent league wages. We're not paying championship wages for these players. They're earning, you know, in lots of cases the same money, or 1 or 2 of them actually earning slightly less than they did last year. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we look like we've recruited okay.
Okay, we're going to move on to some contracts, transfer window stuff, but we'll start with contracts. We've got Robin Reuter, Adam Matthews, George Honeyman, Reece James, Lyndon Gooch, Josh Madger, and Denver Hume, I believe, are all the first team squad members who all have a contract expiring. Yeah. Where are we at with contracts?
George Honeyman, I believe, is the exception to that you've mentioned, because I think in his contract, if he played X amount of games, he gets an extra year.
Does he?
So I think George is here for next year anyway. So I think all the others are up, and yeah, we've begun conversations. Lots of them are with the agents to come back to us, and we would have hoped to have got a few of them tied up by now, but they're being a little bit slower. So I think there'll be news on those players very shortly. I know there's a lot of talk around the youngsters, which is obviously Gooch, Madger, and Denver. All 3 of them have indicated that they would like to stay at the club. So it's now a question of you know, we've put offers to them, and we feel that they're very good offers, and the agents are giving us their view of what's a decent offer. So the haggle is on, if you like. So you know, that's where we are with those, and and then we've got some others that are out of contract that we'll talk to, but we're focusing, I think, on those youngsters. We've got Max down at Eastleigh, I think, that's out, and I think we'd like to do something with him, and I think Elliot at Grimsby is out, so we've got him as well. So we know they're due, and we've begun conversations.
Are you braced for interest in January for them? Well, Josh Madger's probably the one that you're likely to get.
I think there's going to be a couple of them that get interest, and we'll have to see what that is. I don't think we really want to let anybody go. We actually, on the ones we're negotiating with them on the contracts because we want to keep them here. Obviously, they've got to want to stay. I think, to be fair to one or two, and they probably would like to play Championship football at least. So I think
will be next year.
Well, if we could guarantee that, I think that they'll be our players. But there's no guarantee of that at this stage. So, but we're hopeful that they're loving the football club. They want to stay. So I'm hoping that if we get any offers, we'll be able to refuse them. But again, you don't know where they come from. If you look at the scout list at the moment that's coming through, there's some quite impressive Premier League clubs that are coming to games, and if they're watching our players, they're going to be clubs that these players might find difficult to turn down. What you would say though is that I don't know if you're a Tottenham or I don't know, a Chelsea or anybody like that that's looking at our players, I would hope that our players would use a bit of common sense and think to themselves, well, they would struggle to break into those teams at the moment, so another 18 months here would make sense anyway. And then who knows what's going to happen in that period. So, we're negotiating with the youngsters. They will, I think, attract some interest, but we'd like to tie them down so we can just focus and move forward. And if the offers come in January, then I'm sure we'll turn them down. And if they keep coming back with more money, and the players express an interest, then we'll have to deal with it. But we're focused on us and our squad, and we're happy, and we'd like to keep these players with us. So we'll just have to deal with January when it comes.
How long's the negotiation process been going on for?
A couple of weeks.
It's not long.
Huh?
So not too long.
Well, it's long for me.
Yeah.
We make an offer. Do you want it or not? Really, and it isn't as simple as that. But the agents are taking the time coming back to us.
Do you think agents is what's the thing that's hindering the?
Well, we said to the players, just realise your agents are working for you, not you working for your agents. This isn't about the agents getting a fee off these players for a signing. This is about the players, getting a fair wage and a decent wage for being at the football club. So, let's focus on what the player earns, not what the agent's trying to get out of the deal. And I think that's the message we've given to the players. And look, they're young lads. There's a perception that, of course, you need agents to protect you, and that's fine. And one would accept that they're young lads who need some advice. But they're the footballers. They're the ones that are earning the money. Their agents are representing them for their best interests. So make sure what they're suggesting to them is in their best interests. And again, just like the summer. The biggest issue is, I'm not saying any of these agents are doing this, but I don't know, if you look at Josh Madger, how much is the agent going to earn from renegotiating a contract with us for Josh versus trying to persuade him that he can move somewhere for X amount of £1 million? I expect he'll make more money on another deal. So I'm not saying that's happening, but mentally, as the people negotiating on the contracts for Sunderland, we'd be stupid if we don't think like that. When the agents are being slow, why are they being slow? So I'm a very simple beast like that. We make a player an offer, the player wants to stay. All right. So if I'm having a conversation with you and I say to you it's X and I want Y, well we can get that battened out quickly, can't we?
Yeah. So do you ever, not necessarily you, but do you speak to the player? Do you tell the player what you've sent to the agent?
Yeah. I think. I have said in these scenarios, these are our players. So I've instructed our staff to talk to our players. Whereas they said, well, the norm is that we talk to the agent. I said, well, I don't care about that. I said, there are players playing football for us. I said, you don't know, and let's not make an assumption that the agent delivers our exact offer to the player in the way we want, with the rhetoric that we want. Our squad have got a good rapport with our manager, and we know they want to stay. So, yes, let's give the agent the offer. But I said, let's sit down with the player and explain to them how much we want them to stay and what we've given them and why. And they may well turn around and say, look, deal with it with the agent. And I said, that's fine. But as long as they know and we know that they know because we've had that conversation with them, then to me, that's the right thing to do. When you're negotiating with a player that's not at the club, it's different. But these are our players. I'm not, with the greatest respect, I'm not signing the agent. I'm signing the player. I want to know what he thinks. So I've given the very clear instruction that we talk directly to Josh and Lyndon and Denver, whether that's Jack Ross, Jack and Richard. I said I'll do it with the lads as well, and explain to them how much we want them, why we want them, why we offer them what we have, and they can come back to us. And if that's via the agent, fine. But I don't think it's sensible for us to give an offer to an agent and assume that the agent delivers that offer in the way that we want it to. And the agents would prefer us not to talk to players, but there are players. So nuts to that. We'll do it the way we want to do it.
Do you have conversations with other owners about this kind of thing? When you go in the director's box at a club and you speak to them, is this the sort of thing you talk about?
Yeah.
And so will you have the same dialogue about
It's a common frustration. Yeah.
So is there nothing the clubs can do to go to the EFL or the Premier League or the FA and say, this is getting out of hand?
Well, yeah, but it's a massive industry, isn't it? The agents are earning a fortune out of the game, and of course the money's going out of the game.
Well, that's the gripe, isn't it? I mean, how much? You look at that Premier League TV deal. What's 100 million each club? How much is staying in? How much is going to an agent?
Look, I don't know if it's true, but I was told on a specific deal for a player that went for about 70 odd million that the club only got 30 odd because the agent fee was 41. Now I don't know if that's true or not, but based on some of the dealings I've had, I would think that's probably true.
So when a deal's so say you sign a player for £1 million and the agent's fee's 250, is that in the £1 million or is it on top?
Depends on the detail. Normally it's within the figure.
Is it?
So
I thought it was an extra.
Yeah, no, not ordinarily. So so if we sold a player for 5 million, for argument's sake, if a club has come to us, like they did for argument's sake with Joel Azoro, then that because the clubs approached us, we're there. But in lots of scenarios, what happens is the interest is brought about by an agent. An agent will turn around and say to you, "Oh, I can get you so and so from there," or "So and so want to buy this player off you," and you'll go, "Okay, well they come back and they go, well they'll only, but I want a fee of this to introduce the player," and then they're on about you have mandates, so you might give a club a mandate for 7 days to bring you an offer. So he'll say, I don't know, Paris Saint-Germain want to sign Didier and Dong, and you go, well, you've got 7 days to bring the offer, and then they want exclusivity, but that comes at a price. Whereas actually what you think is, well, if Paris Saint-Germain wanted, and they don't, but let's or Bordeaux or Liverpool or whoever want, I don't know, Josh Maja, you think they just pick up the phone directly and say, or drop me an email and say, here's the offer. But it doesn't work like that a lot of times. A lot of times they come through an agent, and that agent, to start with, doesn't tell you the club. He'll say, I can get you an offer for this figure, and you say, what's the club? He said, oh, I'm not telling you till you. It's a strange way to operate, and an unnecessary way to operate, and you wonder why or how the footballing world has managed to get itself in a position whereby football clubs who want players pay agents to put their offers forward for you.
I need to be an agent. That's what I need to do. Screw podcasts.
Well, they make an unbelievable amount of money. I think you know, it's part and parcel of the industry now, but it could be so easily managed to be a different way. So you know why it's not. It's that, you know, it's not for the chairman of Sunderland to unfortunately decide on the rules. You know, but if you want my opinion, it's not done the correct way, because I think there's too many people taking money out of the sport.
Right, we're going to talk again transfers here, so you know agents will probably come up again. But
Yeah.
where are we at in terms of money in January? Obviously, we've lost Ndong and Dillabodji, so does that give her a bit more flexibility?
Well, and Dong, obviously we've done a deal with Dillabodji at the moment. Isn't concluded. It's with the solicitors. We've obviously said that we will terminate his contract. He's appealed that, so that hasn't been completely concluded. So it's premature to say that Dillabodji has gone and won't cost us any money. We have said he shouldn't, and he's gone, and he said, no, I think you should be paying me, and I'm not happy with your decision. So you know, someone's going to decide on that in the very near future as to whether or not you know, he's got a case or we were correct. So on the basis that we're correct, then yes, he's gone. On the basis we're not, then I presume he'll come back and we'll have to pay him. We don't think that'll happen, but you know, stranger things have happened in the footballing world than that. But Ndong has gone. From a, you know, I suppose if the drive is, you know, what does that mean for January? Obviously we've given this league commitment that we'll stay within certain figures, but we were cautious with that. We put a lot of pressure on ourselves to deliver the numbers, so in that way it's been a real pressured 6 months to try and get the result. But in that we believed that we would get a better set of figures to give us a little bit more flexibility. Now, we haven't got the wage bill down quite as much as what we thought we would, because we haven't quite done as much business in the first transfer window as we thought. And in reality, we probably weren't ever going to, because one transfer window isn't enough. But we did a lot of work. But in the rest of the club, I think we've done really well, and that's going to, I think, enable us to make sure we have the January that we need. So if we're talking about can we back Jack, well, you know, we've got to stay within the framework, but I think we built some flexibility into that. So I don't think that there'll be a little bit of movement around, I think, anyway, with maybe a couple of the players that we've currently got that might depart. But I think outside of that, whilst the squad numbers are quite big, I think, you know, Jack and I have already talked about maybe strengthening one or two areas, and I think with the finances the way they are, I think we'll be able to do that. So I'm pretty confident we can continue the momentum and give Jack what he needs. You know, but we have got to stick to this commitment. But I think financially we've done really well, actually.
Tony Colton, how's he doing?
Yeah, I spoke to him today. He's on the mend. Sat watching videos of players and busy as ever. You know, he's you know, had an issue, I suppose, and that's taken him down for about a month or so. But he's still working pretty hard, and he's still receiving a lot of calls. So it hasn't affected us too much, other than, you know, I think Richard and one or two other of the scouts have gone out and probably watched more games than they planned to. So I think as with all those things, everyone's just rallied round, done a bit more, and Tony's well on the mend. So that's good, because he's important to us.
So will he be overseeing everything in January?
Yeah, I think it will be the same as the last window. It will be fundamentally it's Jack, Tony, and Richard, and I think the three of them will be in good shape, and they're already discussing targets.
Oh, just want to ask that.
Yeah,
it's like you've seen the sheet.
So yeah, we I think we know where we're going. Yeah.
So I'll be working on targets. So yeah, must be a few players. You got any idea of how many?
No, I don't think it will be that many. Two or three probably. Again, but you don't know, because, you know, not that we'll want to, but if we got offers for 3 players and they all said, well, we want to leave, and or they hit our valuations or whatever it is, and we thought, actually, you know, we've got options in these positions that might even be better than what we've got, and it's good business for the club, you might end up needing 5 or 6. But I think Jack and I were talking about 2 or 3 players in mind.
or vice versa, a player could come on the market that you never expected,
Yeah.
and then you have to.
Yeah, you think, well, yeah, he's one we want. Yeah, yeah.
How confident are you that we'll be able to retain our best players? So, you know, I mean, there's players who we've alluded to in the past who are maybe on a bit more than, you know, Oviedo, Cattermole, McGeady. There's probably a few others, but how confident? I mean, do we need to get rid of maybe one or two of them, or can we go with them?
I think we can retain all the players we want to retain. There are probably 3 or 4 players that probably financially are tough for us, but we can live with all of them, as long as they are, you know, performing. You know, and I suppose the most high profile one is Lee that we talked about. But I mean, blimey, he's been fantastic for us. And yes, you know, again through no fault of his own, he's on a lot of money for League One. Well, if we can get promoted, he won't look so expensive in the Championship, will he? And you know, can we afford him? Is he enjoying his football? We can afford Lee. I think he's enjoying it. I think he wants to stay. So I don't expect him to go anywhere. And I think, like everybody else, I've enjoyed watching him, and I think he's making a big difference to us. His experience in this league is important, and I think we can do that. Having 4 of them is tough. You know, because obviously Brian's on a bit, and then there's 1 or 2 others that are on quite a lot. And you know, yes, it would make life easier in some ways if out of the 4 we had 2 or even 3, because if we just lost one of them, that would enable Jack to have anything from 4 to 10 players in reality. So, you know, I'm sure Jack could do quite a lot with that. But with how we've done, I think, in the rest of the club, we don't have to. And I think that's quite important, because if you'd have asked me as the transfer window shuts, is it a problem? I'd have said probably, yeah, it could be a bit of a problem. Whereas at the moment I'm thinking, no, we can probably live with this.
Do we sign players, you know, in January, will you be looking half an eye on the Championship? Will that player be able to make the jump up? That's a natural. I mean, when I play Football Manager, that's what I do, so I presume you think the same.
Yeah, I think Jack will just want to sign good players, and we've already had some cross our desk, and we've gone, no, they're not going to be good enough for us. We need players that are good enough to get us out of this league, and good enough to make an impact in the Championship. They're the type of players that we'll be looking for, and I don't think, regardless of what league we end up in next season, we'll just want to sign in January players that are good enough for Sunderland Football Club to be successful.
Have you? So if we did get promoted this season, which we will, have you already thought about what the budgets and wage bills and everything else will be next season? Does that cross your mind, or do you just worry about that at the time?
No.
Without giving away figures, can we shed a little bit of light on what roughly, you know, we're talking in terms of, you know, figures?
Well, what I would say is that I've talked to some clubs about how they're doing, and one of the most logical people to talk to that I know, obviously, is Chris Wilder. Now, if you look at what Chris is doing, and I've had a couple of other clubs talk to me who've got Sunderland fans quite high up in their clubs, and they said, oh, we've managed to do this on this and this on that, and X, Y, and Z. But Chris has got a big club promoted from League One, not as big as Sunderland potentially, probably, but a big club. He's then got them up. He's got them on the edge of the playoffs in the first year, and now he's got them top. So I have a rough idea, I would have thought, of what that's cost, and we discussed that this morning with Jack and Richard, and said that's a model. And then I asked Richard about another club that he knew, and asked them what their budget was, and their budget was 40 million, and they were struggling. So it's about spending the money well, having the right momentum, the right manager, etc., etc. So, you know, whether our budget is 15, 20, 25 or 30 million, there are clubs that have gone up out of this league on 15 million, and there are clubs that have spent 40 that haven't. And to be fair, in Sunderland, there's clubs that have spent 30-ish and got relegated. So, you know, one of the things one of the managers said to me is, you can spend £6,000 on a left back or £30,000 on a left back in the Championship, and the difference between them sometimes is not a lot. So make sure you spend your money in the right area of the pitch and with the right type of players. So I won't give the figures away, but what I would say is, if we got promoted, would we expect to be able to compete in the Championship and have a success? And the simple short answer is absolutely yes.
Success being top 10, top 6, looking at that end of the league.
The ultimate aim of this football club is to get in the Premier League and not try, as I said before, and finish 17th. That's what we're aiming to do. That is our plan. Look, I've come in and I've put my jobs in a certain order. The first most important job is the most unexciting one, is to make the football club sustainable. It was losing 30 million plus, we know that. Let's forget the past now, because we've done that. But what we've made it sustainable. So job one is done. This football club is safe, and I'm not 100% sure it was safe before, because finding someone to put £30 million a year in at the level of that Sunderland is at is no easy target. So we had to change that. We changed it, and the football club is safe. That is. People might not realise quite what they, but that's a huge achievement in 6 months, and you know that's aged me 10 years in 6 months. It's been really hard work. So we've done that. The second job was then to get a team that looks like it's going to be able to get us in the Championship, and with that, to get the right type of team to, if you like, engage the fan base and get the fans feeling very much part of what is their football club. So we're well on the way to stage 2. Then we've got to get out of the Championship, and then we've got to get a team in the Premier League that competes. Top 4, top 6, really hard. Look at Watford, Bournemouth, Everton. I think they go into the season not feeling they're going to get relegated, or Leicester. What Sunderland, I think, spent the last 3 or 4 years fighting relegation, from what the fans were telling me. Sunderland Football Club shouldn't do that. So those are the steps we've got to take. At the moment, I feel like I'm the right person to do the early steps. If I can get it right with the momentum, it may be that we can do this whole journey. And if not, my job is to make sure that I organise Sunderland Football Club to be a competing Premier League team, which is financially sustainable and safe, and isn't playing the 17th spot. So I just see it that job 1 is done. Job 2, it looks encouraging, and then we'll get in the Championship. Job 3, and then job 4, and I see it that way. And I hope I can do job 1, 2, 3, and 4. And if I can't, somewhere hopefully between job 3 and 4, I can find the right mix for Sunderland Football Club, so that journey can finish off, and I just break it down like that.
Do you look at a team like Burnley? Because that's what I say. Like, I sort of almost want us to be like Burnley, because when we did it last time with our short, you know, he put the money in, bought the wrong players, and we went from being what Sunderland is, which is a working class football club where the players, when they fit that mould, it works. We've got the Peter Reid teams, the early 2000s, that's what it was. Roy Keane when he was here, same sort of team. When we differed from that and we started buying foreign players who didn't quite get it, it didn't work. So I want to be Burnley, and I know it doesn't sound very flash, but Burnley's the right model in a lot of senses.
Yeah, look, I want the football club to be the fans. I want the players not to be up their own arse, so that they actually appreciate what playing for Sunderland Football Club is all about. And if the players think that they're bigger than the club, that you know, they're just here to do a job, and it's not a way of they don't get that it's in the fibre of the people. That's not a football club you want. You want the football club to be right at the centre of the community, fighting for all those values, and be successful. and you want it to become like a cauldron here. You want it to be different. You want the football club to be the football club that all fans want. On my way home from these games when I'm driving, I listen to the phone-ins, and I listened to a phone-in the other night from a top Premier League football club, the most miserable set of fans, because the club's not winning. You can't win all the time.
Was that the Mags?
No,
It
wasn't.
Because they haven't won a game either.
No, shame.
Have you had any dealings with Mags, actually, just to stop you there? Have you ever met a Mag?
No.
Weird creatures.
Don't know. Hopefully we'll meet some soonish.
Yeah. Those was like The Walking Dead as well. So.
Yeah. So, but no, I mean, look, you can't win all the time. And I thought, blimey, these fans are only ever happy, and they're not particularly happy when their club's winning trophies. But because that can't happen all the time, they spend the rest of the time miserable. Actually, we want to be proud of this football club, whether we're winning trophies or not. But we want to feel that we can win some trophies, and that's where we got to get to. And I think Burnley, a bigger Burnley, a bigger model.
Definitely a bigger Burnley, but that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to drive home as the chairman of the football club.
Yeah, it's not a great message. Dortmund's more impressive.
Yeah, but listening to our fans, talking the way that some of those other fans, and there was a Huddersfield fan on the programme talking to Jason Cundy, who actually said, "Well, small time fan of a small time club," and I thought, that's a bit harsh, because what the fan was saying was, we're just grateful. Because they were League One going out of business, and now they're in the Premier League, and yes, they're struggling, but they're grateful they got a football club and this, that, and the other, and if they end up in the Championship, with a £20 million training academy, that's still a great result that their chairman's delivered them and their manager in comparison to where they were. So, we want to try and be successful, but we got to remember and be realistic about where we start at the moment, where we're trying to get to, and what we are. And I don't think there's anything wrong with saying, look, trying to make Sunderland a top 6 Premier League team is going to be really tough. You listen to Juan. Juan's telling me we're going to play Monaco in the Champions League because that he's and that's great. But you want that dream, and you want that ultimate aim. But what is a realistic aim for Sunderland? And we'll try and overachieve it if we can. But if we overachieve, let's appreciate we overachieve. But overachieving is not getting out of League One, getting out of the Championship and finishing 16th, 17th in the Premier League. Sunderland should expect more than that. And we want a team that plays a certain way and with an element of passion. And we know what we want. And we'll try and build that, but what we won't have is people that think that they are. We are lucky that they are here. They are lucky to be here. So we're not going to sign players that think, I've wandered into Sunderland. They're lucky to watch me play football. Not a chance. People need to be proud to play for the football club, and that's what we've got to ensure happens all the time.
You mentioned Wan Satori briefly, and
Yep.
I've got a few questions on him. So we had loads of questions actually about Wan
Right.
Satori. He's like a mystical figure almost. But a lot has been made of his ambition to run for presidency in
Yes.
Uruguay. Supporters are concerned, intrigued. Don't understand how that'll impact Sunderland. Don't know if it'll impact his involvement. What can you tell us about?
Not a lot.
Did you know he was running for president?
Yes. I don't think it'll affect anything for Sunderland.
He was at the game of the weekend, wasn't he?
Yeah, he does so many things and has got so many interests, and he's coming over to Sunderland in the next couple of weeks. I mean, it might make it difficult for him to maybe catch a couple of games. I don't know the impact that will have on him. It won't lessen his desire, I'm certain of that, to make Sunderland success. And the reality of it is that's what I care about. Will Juan give 100% for Sunderland? It doesn't matter if he's the president of Uruguay or you know, doing something completely different. He is absolutely determined to make Sunderland a success, and he's pretty single-minded, and he's not going to change from that focus no matter what.
How much is he enjoying it?
Oh, he's loving it. Yeah, comes over every Saturday morning. He's playing football in the academy, trying to. I think they played the Netflix guys, the Fulwell guys, at the weekend. He just loves football. Absolutely loves it. He kicks and breathes it all. He's infectious. Really glad he's on board. Yeah.
So is there no risk of him winning the election and then going, you know,
Nope.
I don't have the time?
Nope.
We're going for it. Cool.
Famous
That's
last
good.
words, but
yeah.
no.
What about the South American talent you mentioned bringing to the academy? How's that
Yes. Yes, that's Juan is he's all over that. Not too into the detail, you know. He just wants to fly over 50 Uruguayans, and he thinks I'm going to sort out the work permits and the you know, the living accommodation, everything that goes with it. He's just talent spotting, and you know, he's got
talent. Is he going out scouting? Is he
no,
just watching
he's
Uruguayan telly?
He's got lots of connections with football clubs out there, and there's lots of players desperate to come over. And I think initially Juan thought it would be as simple as chartering a jet for them and bringing them over, and I'll take care of all the costs and I'll do it, and we'll bring over 50 and we'll find 10 and send back 10. And but I said, you know, there are employment rules, Juan. So we're just dotting the I's and crossing the T's, but he's absolutely all over it, and I'm sure, you know, hopefully there'll be some decent South American flair joining us for all the right reasons.
I would take
shortly.
a Luis Suarez or a Diego Forlan-esque player. That would be nice.
Yeah, I've mentioned them.
We did talk about Papi Delaboji and Didier
Yes.
Ndong, but in terms of Ndong, what is happening with Ndong? Has he got a club now?
Don't know. We've just done an agreement with him. Can't discuss the detail, but the reality of it is, you know, his contract's terminated with the football club, and when he signs for someone, and I'm sure he will, then you know, that'll be a good day for the football club.
Did you ever meet Ndong?
No.
And obviously you've mentioned Papi Delaboji, and
Yep.
I presume there's nothing really you can say on that because it's going to be in
No, because it's we're at legals with him.
Okay, well, I'll jump onto home attendances. So far this season we've had 31,075 for Charlton, 29,876 for Scunthorpe, 32,193 for Oxford, 29,367 for Fleetwood, 28,764 for Rochdale, which was second lowest because Peterborough was 727, and just under 31 at the weekend. So biggest in the league. We're on course to be the biggest ever in League One. Is that as good as you expected? Where were you thinking it was going to be?
That's better than I'd hoped when I came.
What did you think? Did you look at the history books and saw we went down in 2003, we were playing in front of about 25?
Yeah, I thought we'd get over 25, and I thought if we did really well, we'd be early 30s. And I think I'm hoping as the season ramps that we'll get a few 35s, and I think that'll be fantastic. And it does make a difference when we're talking about budgets, and we're talking about, you know, what we'll have in January. A big Boxing Day crowd and a big crowd for the Shrewsbury game, you know, that could add £150,000 in income. And to put that in perspective, you know, you want another Chris Maguire, you know, couple of games like that, and you know, you got one, and that's, you know, that's where the football club is, and you know, the fans there can make a huge difference to that. So I think the players are showing that they're putting the effort in, that the fans are turning up, and I think hopefully, you know, a few of the stay away fans, which I understand, you know, and it's, you know, they make an argument about League One football, etc. But when the season gets going, in some ways, regardless of what league you're in and who you're playing, it's that Saturday feeling, and you come to support your team, and sometimes it doesn't matter who they play. And I hope that, you know, we can boost those crowds a little bit, because I think some of the people that might be staying away, and I had this to a lesser degree with Oxford when they dropped down into the conference, it is actually a really enjoyable season. And sometimes, you know, if you look at Sunderland over the last few years, it probably hasn't been that enjoyable to follow them. So all I say is don't miss out on what I think is going to be, or could be, hopefully, a really fun, exciting season. And if that could, you know, few people could get some enthusiasm from that don't, and we get an extra couple of thousand on the gate from here on in, that will stand us in good stead financially.
So do you think we'll see a rise over the course of the season? Me personally, knowing Sunderland fans, knowing the fact that generally our attendances are always better second half of the season,
Yeah.
I suspect that they might, if we're up there, it'll probably go up to 35 to 40.
That would be unbelievable.
Um,
And that would help us.
It's weird though, because for some reason Sunderland's attendances have always jumped up second half of the season. I don't know why that actually is, but if you actually look at the seasonal graph, it always jumps up second half of the season.
We'll buy a couple more players then on the basis that the
my thoughts there.
yeah, absolutely.
I think Bradford game, Boxing Day. You still think you're going to be opening the top tier for that one?
I hope so. Yeah, I mean, Bradford obviously haven't done as well, and I thought they bring a big following, so I don't know how you know, them being down the bottom is going to affect their travelling support. So that might have an impact.
But there's still 20,000 there when we were there the other week.
Yeah. So you'd hope they'll travel in numbers, and if they travel in numbers and you know, our fans get captured by the imagination, or if it's a game that we could win to go top or something. It just depends. I think, you know, the people in the ticket office are talking about a crowd between 35 and 40,000, and if that's the case, then you know, the top tier may well have to be open.
Fingers crossed.
Down to the fans.
When you do open it, are you still sticking with the promise of the people who were in there get their old seat back? That was
I can't see why not. Yeah,
because it was also when the season ticket were announced, you weren't actually in charge. Though it was Martin Bain.
Yes.
The prices were frozen for 3 years.
Yeah, well done.
That continues.
Well, yeah, we've got to do that. Yeah,
Yeah.
If that was the promise that was made. Yeah, I was aware of that promise. And
okay, and I want to make sure I get my seat back up there.
Yeah, fine, okay, all right.
I prefer it up there.
Yeah, do you?
Yeah, it's much nicer.
Well,
especially when there's obviously the concourses are bigger.
Are they? Well, to be fair, I prefer it lower, but I think that might be because
I like being
no
with the
one
old
up
people in the top tier.
Yeah.
But that's what it used to be back in the day. Now it's nice up there, and obviously I'll be nearer you because you were up there.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Easier to throw a gangbang at me.
Yeah. We're into the final sort of stretch here. I mean, there's still a lot of questions, but we're in the final stretch. So the academy, obviously very important. We've spoke about the academy a few times. But how happy are you with the fact that the academy has given us, I don't know, 5 first-team players?
Yeah, fantastic. We've just got to, like every area of the football club, we've just got to look at it, and if we can improve it. It's done fantastically well for the football club over the years, and we've got to maintain that, and then we've got to see if there's any way we can improve it. And you know, in every area of the football club, we're trying to make improvements, and the academy is no different. You know, we want to stay Cat 1, but we want to, you know, produce more players.
Paul Reed's coming on this show actually in a couple of weeks' time, but he's been in charge for 4 months. How happy are you with his?
Very.
What has he changed?
He's just very professional, very thorough, good with direction. He's got good strategies, good connections. He is very well suited to that job, and very focused on, you know, just like, if you like, Jack, you know, relatively unheard of. Probably people will sort of take a step back and go, oh, you know, why Jack or why Paul? But we know these people, and maybe why Tony Coton and why Richard Hill. But you know, touch wood at the moment, those decisions look like they're good decisions for the football club. They're good people, and I think Paul is Paul will be able to hopefully make some improvements within the academy, even though it's you know, it's done really well.
We've had some poor results for the under-23s.
Yes.
Does that concern you?
No, we talked about the strategy for the teams, and I think Kevin Ball, Richard, Tony, Jack, myself and Paul all agree that what we need to try and do a little bit more is get our players out on loan, playing if you like, competitive football or men's competitive football in leagues that matter. And a direct result of that is it will probably weaken those teams, because some of the players that would have played in them, you know, your Embletons, your Molyneux, etc., obviously will be playing matches elsewhere. So again, it depends how you look at it. And we had Paul said to me, he said, I'd prefer to lose every game and get 5 players in the first team than I would to win every tournament, because I've got the strongest players, but they're not equipped to get in the first team. So when their contract expires, they've played no football. So there is a balancing act. But the other advantage of getting the players out on loan is it means that the younger players aren't blocked by the older ones, so they can come through playing against older players. Now, it means that the results sometimes suffer, and there is a balancing act, but that can actually be beneficial. So we've got quite a few of the players out on loan, and it's a model that we want to do more of. And again, if we get more out, potentially it enables us to sign a few more as well. And we have had a look at maybe, again, come January, we worked hard on the list where we think some of the if you like, the other cap ones might let a few of their players go, etc. And there might be a bit of compensation to pay, or there might be a bit of a fee, but we might try and just, for a change, maybe invest a little bit in that area to sign, a couple of prospects. And I think that's the model we want to go down. So I'm not overly worried about the results. It can be character building for the lads, and I think the football people within the club have said, no, don't worry about that. Get the boys playing competitive football. Move the youngsters through. It's a natural progression, and we'll get there.
Are you worried about any bigger clubs plucking young talent from us? Has this happened again?
Yeah.
Which is always
there's nothing on the horizon with that, but I don't like the rules. But the rules are the rules.
Yeah.
You can't protect yourself against the players till they're 17 years old, and I suppose as a Cat 1 academy, having been relegated to League One, you feel like all the other big clubs have gone. Whew.
Do you think that the rules should change on that, and that you don't get the fee straight away, but the fee is based on down the line? You get like certain parameters get hit, and you get the money for that, because getting £500,000 up front and then a 10% sell-on fee, whatever it is, doesn't seem anywhere near enough if you've lost potentially one of the best players in the world.
No, if you lost a £15 million player or whatever, it's gutting. But you also explain to the lads, or particularly the parents, it is that they get their heads turned. You can go to as happened, you go to Arsenal, you can go to Liverpool, Man United are interested in you, or you can play at Sunderland in League One. Now, again, it depends on your mentality, and everybody's different. And I suppose I'm bound to say this, but I would think to myself, well, it's great to go to the Arsenal or the Man United or whatever, potentially, and Sunderland isn't quite there. But look at Sunderland. Madger's in, Gooch is in, Honeyman's in, Hume's there, he's in. We've got
Kipioga.
Yeah, we've got Max who probably could do a job for us, doing ever so well. You got Elliot out. You got you got Barley. Sign for us. Your lad at 17 or 18's got 19's got a real chance of playing football, and then kick on from there. If you want to go to the Arsenal, go at 22 when if you're Josh Madger, you scored 100 goals for us, and then go and get your move, or negotiate with us a big contract then because you love the club, or whatever it will be. That is the option, versus going and play for Chelsea's under 23s, never getting near the first team possibly, and X, Y, Z. But that's the way I would think about it. But I think I'm the exception, not the rule. And I suppose it's easy for me to argue I think like that because I'm thinking about it from a Sunderland perspective. But a lot of these lads that may disappear to these clubs may just disappear into the ether, and you never hear from them again. So. But it's frustrating because you can't. All we can do is sell Sunderland Football Club, and I think we can be better at making our youngsters feel part of the club. We are now at the stage where, as I said, we've stabilised ourselves financially, and now we're into more of the detail, and there is lots to do with the matchday experience, with the academy, we're identifying these things, and I think one of the things we've identified in the academy is we probably need to just make sure that you know, these players really feel part of Sunderland Football Club and that they belong. And then when somebody comes along, they may still go, but we've given ourselves the best chance of keeping them, and that might not quite have been the case recently.
The club's scaled back a lot due to cost cutting. There has been redundancies, whatnot. How much has that impacted the academy, and how are we still scouting abroad? And
hasn't impacted the academy at all. I don't think actually. I might be wrong. I don't think in the academy we've lost very many jobs at all. Probably less than 5, I would think. The academy is functioning as strongly as ever with the number of people. Indeed, I think they're talking about having to add, because the rulings may be adding another half dozen people in. So it's got more streamlined in certain areas, but the staffing bill is you know, I think, you know, a few people have gone. We've had a few resignations. There seems to be a turnover of staff in the academy over the last few years. I don't know if that's normal of an academy. It seems to be as other positions come up, but they've been replaced. They've been filled. So you know, I don't think at most probably 5 people have been made redundant, I would have thought.
Right, we'll jump a little bit now to Netflix. Netflix, who nearly were here but aren't today. So have you seen the first season?
Nope.
You've said you've seen one
couple of clips.
Just a couple of clips.
Few clips, yeah.
Are you worried about any negative attention it could bring?
Nope.
You know, mainly in the sense of it's reflecting on last year, which bluntly shit show. This year everything's positive. Are you worried that it might make the club a laughing stock? Anything?
No,
like that?
I don't. No, I'm not worried about it. I think, again, if you look at what we're trying to do at the football club, and you want to compete, etc. We were asked if we'd sign into the second series, and I suppose explain it from a commercial perspective. There was a concern, and probably a concern on the football side. We don't want to become a circus, and you know, if you've got cameras following you around, it can be unnatural, and we have to balance that against what we perceive is the overall benefit versus the negative at the football club. Having Netflix involved with Sunderland, I think, is a huge thing, because you know, Man United, Man City, etc. They naturally can promote their global brand. Sunderland, that's more difficult. Yes, we've got fan base all over the world, but we're not a global brand in that sense. If we can get the Netflix opportunity right, and that's always a gamble, but if we can do that and maximise it, we have the opportunity to go out to millions of people globally. And if we can come across as the right sort of football club, caring, compassionate, a bit different to if you like the corporate beasts that they're following in the Man City's, Man United. Yes, all right, you know, you can look at those football clubs, but I'm not sure how many football fans that follow these teams feel part of their club. So if we can show the characters in the football club, get some interesting people to follow, then we have a chance to connect globally in a way that we couldn't hope. And I think the commercial outcome of that for the football club could be huge. So as the custodians of the club, it's important that we try and maximise that. So I'm not worried about the downside. I'm focused on maximising the upside.
What's it been like having them following you around for 6 months?
First week or two, it was bizarre.
Now it's normal.
And I would say this, but it doesn't particularly faze me, like doing the podcast or talking to fans, because I just say it how I see it. So I think in lots of times in different walks of life or at football clubs, people are, I suppose, very careful about what they say, and they try and portray a certain. We don't have to be like that. We just tell it how it is. So actually having a camera around, just following you when you're telling it how it is, isn't a problem, because what I've said to you today, I'll say to Jack, or I'll say to the girls in the ticket office, or I'll say to the players. So there's no mixed message or whatever it is. It just is what it is. So having the cameras following you doing that isn't a problem. Getting used to people putting microphones in your face or anybody being interested. I'm still, you know, I get out on a match day and people want my photo. People ask me to sign their handbags, and you know, I came out the front of the Roker Hotel the other day and some kid cycled past straight into a lamppost and fell off, and I was like, you know, that's bizarre for me. You know, I'll go home to Oxford, where, bar the Sunderland fans sprinkled around Oxford, no one, well, the Oxford fans do, I suppose, but nobody really knows who I am. I go down the supermarket and it's fine. I come up here. That needs getting used to. You know, you come up here and, you know, people want to talk to me, and that's bizarre for me. You know, people want their photo with me. You think, well, you know, have a photo with Chris Maguire or George Hanneman or whoever. What do you want a photo with me for? And that's taken some getting used to. And I'm not particularly in my comfort zone with that. And it is intense. But at the end of the day, that's absolutely fine. But you know, that's as much of the Netflix. That's taken some getting used to. That.
Do you live up here? You got a place up here now?
No. I come up. So like this week, I'm up Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. But I'm staying at the Roker Hotel. So.
Should have sleeping in it.
I'm not sure I should say that if you're putting that out tonight. Might help their bar take if a few fans want to come in and have a drink. That's fine. Yeah,
we'll hold it ransom.
Have a drink with them. That's fine. But no, I normally come up and stay there, or I'll stay over the road at Ellis's, and
Ellis's
at the hotel.
Oh, Ellis's.
Sorry, well, yeah. So, you know, I'll do that, and I'll come up 2 or 3 nights a week. And I just find that an easier way to do. But I find it unbelievably intense when I come up here.
Yeah.
And I couldn't live up here, I don't think, now, having seen it, because it would be relentless for me 7 days a week, and I wouldn't be able to say no, I don't think. But what's really good for me is I can come up for 3 or 4 days, just give myself, you know, completely and utterly focused for anybody that wants me, anybody that needs me, and then I'll go away and I can recharge my batteries for a couple of days. Have some thinking time about Sunderland while I'm away and act on what's gone on. And I find that it just works for me. I just find that a really good way to do it.
Is there a moment of the day you don't think about Sunderland?
No, not really. No. Yeah, like all the fans. I'm sure they're the same.
Yeah, that's true. Last year, to be fair, I switched off a couple of times. So, with how horrible it was. We've got a few final bits. Oh, actually, final thing on Netflix. Is anything you can tell about Series 2? Is it just going to be more of the same from Series 1?
Well, I don't really know. You
sure?
don't get to see it yet. There was a clip from Saturday where I hope they will edit out, where I was on the pitch and went flying. But I think that will be good TV. But
they filmed you asking me for a picture of a McGangbang the other week.
Did they? Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, that's probably not good television.
They came down to my house a couple of weeks ago to interview me, and I thought, you know, how boring for you know, you're talking about your life and you think, well, no one's going to be interested in that, but you have to do some very strange things.
We've got a few random things to finish off with, so hopefully these should be quick to get through and then let you get on with your day. Where are we at with the exiles scheme? So quite a few people have been asked about this.
No, we are. The honest answer is we are nowhere. In the sense that we have, I would say we're nowhere. That's not quite right. There are about 50 jobs on a list now. We've done, as I say, we've done the finance. We've done all the bits. So now we are into the detail, and the exiles is one of the details. So we've nothing to announce. We have given ourselves 4 weeks to tackle 50 what we perceive as quite serious things for the football club that would make the experience for the fans better, and the exiles is one of them. So give me about 4 weeks on that.
You've spoken quite a bit about court cases in previous podcasts.
Yes.
Without going into detail, how is everything progressing, and do you spend a lot of your time working on that, or is it with other people?
No, a lot of time at the moment. We've spent a lot of money with lawyers, I'm afraid. We have got about 9, and Dong was potentially 1, and that's gone, so that's down. So I think we're on 7 or 8, and 2 of them we expect to disappear quite quickly. But yeah, we've got a couple of ex-players, 2 ex-managers, Alvarez, which is 2 cases, and I think that's it now. So that's 6. Yeah, 6. We're down to 6 from 9.
Is that going to be resolved soon? Yes.
Well, weeks and months, I hope. Now, these are the only things that really could affect the football club, because, you know, we budgeted, I suppose, for one or two to go wrong, albeit we don't really think they should. And, you know, with half a dozen court cases over you, although two, if you like, there's 6, so 4 against 2 where we're pursuing. So, if you like, the 2 that we're pursuing, if we take those out of the equation, there's 4 cases that could leave us liable for quite a lot of money that we don't think should. 2 inherited, 2 generated. Well, 3 inherited, one generated, but 1 being Pappy, the other 3 are historical. Pappy, I don't think is going to affect us too severely regardless. The other 3 have got potential to be a problem. So we have to get those resolved on sensible terms, because they could affect us in the short term financially.
What's the biggest problem or most frustrating issue you've ran into since you bought the club?
The players that we inherited that didn't want to be with us. That was unbelievable, and a culture that it's Sunderland, we can just pay. Not necessarily just with the players, with everything. There was a money is no object mentality, which I'd had in a small way at Eastleigh, because I created that same thing, and I'd created it and realised what a problem I've created for Eastleigh, because okay, you know, Eastleigh was a non-league football club, but it had a budget 3 times what was the league average, and you know, we were getting players in on big money and making lots of mistakes. I made lots of mistakes at Eastleigh, I think, that were the same as what was happening here, but on a smaller scale. And I'd seen that culture develop under me at Eastleigh, and I wasn't happy with it, and I'd changed it and was getting it, you know, so that, you know, value for money was becoming important. So that's given me a really good footing to come in here. But having started to deal with that at Eastleigh, having created that myself, because we started really well, then I'd got overexcited, spent too much money too quickly to try and build something too quick, got the wrong sort of attitude and culture at the club, was starting to deal with that, and then Sunderland's come along, and then I've walked straight into it in a much bigger and worse way, and that was horrible to see, because I'd seen that for myself, and then I thought, you know, these people really have done that to Ellis, created a culture around Ellis that he didn't deserve. You know, and you know, Ellis would be the first to say he wasn't around as much as maybe he should be, and you know, that wouldn't have helped. But seeing that and dealing with that mentality, you know, isn't fair. It wasn't fair on him, and it wasn't fair on the fans, and it certainly wasn't fair on me either. And I just had to change that, and that's been the worst culturally, the worst business I've ever seen for that.
How have the tough decisions been, you know, redundancies? How have you dealt with that? Has that been something you took head on, or have you given that to other people?
I've given that to other people. I struggle with that. The guys will tell you with that. You know, I've had that in some of the other businesses that I've bought, and I like dealing with people, and I get attached to people, and if I get to know the people too much, I would have struggled with that here, and I had to be distant from it to deal with it. So I've done that on a bit of paper, very impersonal from my perspective, and tough. But if I'd got into the people and their lives, I would have felt too bad to do what needed to be done for Sunderland. You know, if they were, you know, couldn't pay some of their bill, I struggle with that. So the guys who, like Neil and some of the other guys, they've dealt with that for me. I've had a look at it and said it should be this, it should be that, it should be this, but I haven't sat in and made the people redundant myself. There might be an argument that I should do that, because, you know, I'm affecting those people, and I realise that, and I'm sorry for that, but I took a very simple view that I didn't create it. It had to be done. I needed to do it for the good of the club, but personally, too emotional for me. Yeah, so I swerved that one, unfortunately, and you know, did it on a bit of paper. Still not nice. It's still not nice to know that you have affected people, and you know, I keep an eye on it from afar. I know lots of the other people have got jobs, and I'm thankful in my own. You know, it doesn't justify that in my mind, but it makes me feel better to know that people have got a job. But that is singly the toughest thing to do, because especially at the football club, because in some of the other companies I've bought, those people deserved that in some ways because it's their fault. The result was the result. Here, actually, it's the football management and the footballers running around on the pitch, and made doubly worse when you've got players earning annual salaries for these guys in a week.
Yeah.
That just don't care. So that then makes you even more frustrated when you're dealing with them. So that is not something I will ever want to go through again, from that perspective. And I think that's another reason it's important at this football club to get it lean, so that actually, when you talk about it, why? Because the club is in League One and would go to the Premier League, for argument's sake, why would that mean that the staff would need to treble? You're still playing the same game. The stadium is still the same size. There might be a few more people coming on a match day, but that happens 23 times a year, so they're not casual staff. But you know, why do you need an extra 150 people? If you think about that logically, you just don't, do you?
Commercial side of things will probably grow in.
Well, the club had one commercial person when we took over.
No.
One, so we'll double it to two. But you know, you're looking at it. You know, away ticket allocation. You know, ticketing, merchandising. The football club. You know, you look at the academy. Do you need more academy staff? No. Do you need more chefs to cook? You know, the players' meals. More cleaners in the stadium? No. You don't need any more, do you? The groundsman is still preparing the first team pitch for a game, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what difference does it make if you're playing Sunday morning football, or you're playing in the Premier League? What difference does it make? It's just a culture that because there's more money there, you can have more wastage. Well, let's get it under control so that if then the club ever went, and you'd never want it to, but if it went from the Premier League back to League One again, somebody like me would come in and go, oh, actually, there's no reason to cull the stuff because it's run lean and mean and efficient, but with care. And we rip it back to that, and then we make sure that we don't become arrogant and frivolous if we become successful.
There's been murmurings, rumours on the grapevine amongst supporters that there could be a new addition to the board of directors incoming. Is there any truth to that? If so, what can you tell us?
Oh, absolutely nothing.
Nothing?
New board member? No, I don't think so.
Oh well.
No.
There's that.
Not unless Charlie's organising something with Wallin that I don't know about.
No, there's
no one. No. We are what we're having lots of expressions of interest with people asking either to come on the board or invest in the club, which is great news actually. None of which have been progressed. I had somebody inquire last week to buy the football club that was looking at another football club, and we just said no.
To buy it?
To buy it, yeah.
Would you made a quick buck?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I made a lot actually.
That's nice.
Yeah. So
how does that work? If somebody tries to buy the club, how does that work? Does somebody just ring you?
I got a call from an agent that wanted to put me in touch with somebody, and you know, Sunderland is winning games, and I think people know that actually financially it's. I think the words go out there that it's, you know, its outgoings and its income is not only sort of, if you like, back where it should be, but probably pretty good in comparison. And it's a Premier League club in the making, isn't it? So I mean, you know, so if everybody seems to want to buy a Premier League football club, and that Sunderland is that. It's just not there at the moment. So, you know, it's going to be attractive, and it will get offers. But we want to do it. But again, you know, when you're talking about it, I've thought about this, you know, further down the line for the moment I've come in. I mean, I'm loving it, but I'm not silly enough to think that at some point there might be a crossroads. As I said, I think we got the right team for what Sunderland need at the moment, and hopefully, you don't know how it will progress, but hopefully we can stay as we are and deliver all the things we want to deliver. But it might be that somebody comes along, and that will be a really emotional decision for me, because I'll have to do what's right by the football club. But I've become, in a very short period of time, very attached to the football club, and that's only getting stronger. So it's a bit like having somebody and you don't want to hold them back, and you've got to let them go to improve. But, you know, I think I said it on the Netflix thing. If you imagine, the way I'm viewing this is, if you imagine Sunderland as your house purchase, you buy a house, you look after it, you want to live in it, you want your family to enjoy it, and over the period you spend money on it to try and make it the best it can be. And then when it comes to the end of your time there, because either you've outgrown it, or because you can't no longer live in it because you've become too old and it's outgrown you, then you want to pass it on to somebody that's going to look after what you've built. And that's how I view Sunderland, and that's what I've got to try and do. And if you look after it well, you know, again, you know, from a financial perspective, you know, you'll do all right. So I'm sure we have an asset, but the primary function is not to sell for a quick buck. This isn't a deal like that. This is about building something special for the people here, and if we do it right, a bit like Jackal, you know, might get an opportunity at Man United, for argument's sake, we may well get an offer that's good for the club and good for us. But we've just got to do it right.
We're speaking to Bob Murray soon. He's going to be in
Yes.
the podcast chair.
Yes.
Have you met him, and what
Yes.
was he like?
Yeah, fantastic.
When did you meet him?
I met him first at the Wolves game. I popped in to see him. I took the off chance he wouldn't mind me dropping my head in when I knew that.
So where was he?
He was in a box. He's got
Was
got a box. So I popped in and introduced myself. And then I've popped in and had a day at the foundation. Fantastic thing that he's built there. And you know, you walk around the stadium, and I have pinching moments where I think, oh, you know, I own this at the moment. He's built that. He's built the academy. What a thing he's built for Sunderland. What a job he's done, and now he's continuing that on with the foundation. And he asked me if I would get involved in that, and he said that, you know, it hadn't not quite working right with the football club. Needs just a few tweaks to get it working better. And I met his team, and I don't think they felt part of the football club as much as they should do, all the people working over there. So we've got some work to do there. We've got to understand it better. Yes, yeah. So we've got a trustees meeting on the 30th of November. You know, you look at that and you look at the people on it, and again, a bit like people filming, you think, you know, I'd look at it, whatever there are, 2 right honourables, 3 sirs, a lady, you know, all these famous
You'll
people.
You'll be Sir Stewart Donald
and me.
in the Champions League.
I doubt that very much, but you know, and then it's little old me, and you think, well, you know, but it's for Sunderland, it's for the city, it's for the county, it's, you know, it's for the surrounding area, and we've got to do our bit for all of that. And he's inspirational. I mean, you know, being a chairman, I'm sure was had its highs and its lows, but you know, I think he's done amazing for the football club, and you know, you talk to fans and they say, yeah, you know, there were highs and lows, and he's done a fantastic job. I think, you know, Sunderland have got what they've got because of his vision and his finance. And I would have thought people should be forever grateful that he's got involved in the football club. Yeah.
You've done a good promo there for our podcast.
Oh, he's fantastic, fantastic.
A negative actually here. Charlie Methven caused a bit of a stir the other week, calling up pub watchers.
Yeah.
I understood the point, but I think the message was said in the wrong way. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree.
What did you make of that? I mean, I presume I agree with him, but I just don't agree with the way he said it. Does he feel that as well?
Well, I phoned him and he answered the phone and I said parasite and he went and I said I said, you know, we had a conversation and I said I get the message, but you know the terminology wasn't quite right, and he said no, and he said no, I'll correct that at the given time, but it was the message I was trying to get across, and I don't think to a degree people would disagree with the message, but you know, people have a right to watch the game, come to the games if they want or not, and what they do, I don't think, you know, whether or not people can afford it or they want to go and spend time in the pub, that's fine. I don't think the businesses, if they shouldn't be showing it, should show it.
Yeah,
because,
I think everyone agrees with that.
And I think that's the issue. And that's the issue that we should be focusing on. The fact that people go and do it, you know, people have a right to do what they want to do. Yeah. We prefer them to come to the ground, but I don't think anybody's a parasite if they choose to go and have 3 pints and watch the game.
The issue with it is, for me, I've got a lot of friends who are Newcastle fans.
Yeah.
I'll go to the pub to watch their game illegally in a pub, but I'm not going to be spending money on the football club. I'm just there because I'm casually watching the game and want to have a few drinks with my mates. And I think the issue is, not every football fan is hardcore like what I am.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the message almost got lost, because not everyone is a die-hard Sunderland fan. Some are just casual, I want Sunderland to win and I'll go watch the game at the pub, but that's it.
And the last thing we want to do is those people that are going to watch it because they've got in the habit of not going to the games, that need some encouragement to go to the games, then feel that they've been labelled by the director of the football club as you know, somebody that just doesn't support the club. And I think from that perspective the terminology wasn't right, and I'm sure Charlie would acknowledge that, and I don't think, you know, that's not something that, you know, as a board we think that, you know, Sunderland fans going in watching a game in the local means that they don't support the club and that they're, you know, sucking the club dry. So I think the phrasing of that was wrong, and Charlie, I'm certain, would acknowledge that, and I think probably he's just got carried away in the topic, and the passion, and again, you know, he's become extremely passionate about Sunderland, and he's absolutely desperate to see. I mean, Charlie focuses on the off the field stuff, so he prides himself on the attendances, the music, which, you know, people have different views on.
Paint your wagon back though.
I know. I
was happy to have that.
I still think it should be Sweet Caroline, but anyway, you know, that was that was done. Yeah, that's fine. Well, it's more your club in that sense than mine, so we'll go with you. But you know, and so I think he feels all of those things, and he's put a massive personal pressure on himself to deliver those things, and he sees the more people that we get in the gates as making a really big difference, and that's true. So I think he's probably, you know, Charlie will talk for himself, he doesn't need me to, and I'm sure, you know, if you get him on a podcast he'll explain his views, but I think from my perspective I would say he's got over emotionally enthusiastic on that point, and that hasn't come across well, no.
Lots of clubs have begun to introduce Hall of Fames. Would Sunderland consider to start one?
Yes.
Yes,
definitely.
Is that something that's maybe potentially in the pipeline?
Well, I'll put it on the list. Yeah, I like Hall of Fames. Yeah.
Cool. I think I might got to.
I'll need a little bit of help maybe on it, but yeah.
I might got to tip off on that question.
Oh, have you?
Maybe. We've been looking at renaming stands. I think the Red and White Army were in charge of that. But what about naming rights for the stadium?
We've got. We're talking to a couple of companies about it. I don't think. I think we're talking to them commercially, but I do think the fans should have an input on it. But I do, you know, as to whether or not they're happy with it. But my gut feeling is that even if we didn't consult, the vibe I got from the fans is they're not particularly attached to the name of the stadium. It's not a sacred thing like some of the other grounds. I think it's something that we could do without upsetting the fans. So I think from that perspective, there is potential for us to do it. But I think it would be next season at the earliest.
Okay, we're in the home straight now, I promise. Pre-season, that's looking well ahead here, but somebody asked, so any plans to go abroad?
I think we'll go away, but I don't know where.
Okay, a good few Americans. Actually met somebody from Philadelphia, travelled all the way from Philadelphia to come to the game at the weekend. So.
Yeah, I met somebody from New York who'd come over for the game, and some people got hold of me that had been in Australia, so I invited them onto the pitch after the game, and they had a run around.
From Blythe, you're going to invite me on?
Well, we'll have a game, won't we, at the end of the season?
Yeah, we'll have a game. Cool. Gigs coming to the Stadium of Light. You want to give us any hints? Sing us a lyric.
Well, we have got potentially, I think, one two-nighter and one one-nighter, but I know, I think Charlie's mentioned it, hasn't he? That
he hasn't given away the names.
No, but I think they're not completely signed.
No.
I think we've got agreement in principle, so I'm not going to jump the gun there.
Okay.
I think
we're going to sing as a lyric.
I'm not going to sing you a lyric, and I don't think it's. I think they will happen, but it's not. The contract isn't signed.
Are the A-list?
You'll go to them.
I'll go to them. You don't know what music I like.
No, I know, but you'll go.
Seat changes. Seats are looking banging.
Yes, it's much better, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So I just want to say, kind of how happy I am. I presume you're equally as happy. And I saw the players were down there today, actually.
Yes. And then we go next stage.
West Stand coming up after the South.
Yeah. I want to get but I want to go down the concourse. We got to paint. We got to paint. I'm going to have a look at it. I'm a big fan of the fans getting involved in everything, and I think in areas it's looking tired and needs a lick of paint and a freshen up and some red and white and maybe some murals and whatever else we can make it feel warmer. And I want the fans, if they want to really sort of take on transforming the look of the ground.
How have you found standing in the away end, as it will be? You've been, what is that, 2 now? Coventry and Doncaster?
Yeah, I went to Burton, but I wasn't quite in the away end. I got as close as I could
get.
Yeah,
you were on the side.
Yeah, I was on the side.
How are you finding that?
Well, I went in the Coventry end, and again, a bit like signing everything. It was as soon as I've come through the turnstile, I've been hit by about 300 Mackhams, and they practically pinned me back taking photos. And it's I didn't expect that reaction. So that the Coventry game took me back a bit, but and I know people are talking about Mike Ashley does it and this that, and I'm not really interested what anybody else does, and I don't really know. I just like. I work really hard for the football club, and I don't particularly enjoy the director element of the games, and I do host them here, but I do and have always loved an away day, and Sunderland away days look amazing to me, and without being gimmicky or doing what I just want to go and experience it in the quietest way possible, and I can't do it all the time, but when I can, and I know if we lose a couple on the bounce, some people are gonna say some stuff to me in this and I'll have to take that. And look, if fans want to do that, they can do that. It's their football club, and I have to accept that. But they were. I'll be as disappointed as them. I've got to drive home like they've got. I'm. You can't talk to me if we haven't done well. I'm like everybody else, but I have to accept that if I'm going to do that, I put myself there for that, and I accept that to a degree, and I get that. But the upside of doing it, I just love. I can't celebrate a Sunderland goal properly unless I'm hidden in 4,000 fans.
Have you been kissed yet?
Yeah.
I've been kissed a few times.
I've had a few beery kisses, to be fair. Yeah. That's
it's
not the
not
highlight of my away day,
kissed.
if I'm honest. But
I'm going to talk about them up up the road. So,
Right.
what do you make of all the Newcastle fans coming to watch our games? It's weird.
Are they? Are they really coming?
Yeah.
They are. I've seen a few pictures, but I wasn't sure if it was Sunderland fans dressing up for.
It's not Sunderland.
No.
Why would a Sunderland fan do that?
I don't know. Well, no, you wouldn't. Yeah, no, you
It's
wouldn't catch me
weird.
doing that.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's more revenue, I suppose, is the political answer. I think if they should be going to watch Newcastle, shouldn't they? I'd be absolutely gutted if Sunderland fans were going to watch Newcastle games, because it would show that we haven't got things right to a degree. And I'm not saying Newcastle haven't got things right, but that's at this stage for Sunderland, that's how I'd interpret what I'd done.
Has the rivalry bearing in mind we're 2 divisions apart, has the rivalry surprised you?
No.
Is this
No.
what you're expecting?
I'm expecting it to be.
Have you ever been to a
No,
Sunderland Newcastle?
and I really want to go.
Yeah.
And I really want to win. I'm hoping that's going to happen sooner rather than later. And I think the Newcastle fans will want, they should want Sunderland in the Premier League playing against them, shouldn't they?
But they'll be in the Championship, so...
Well, I can't say that, can
Yeah.
I? I'll look forward to that immensely. And no, the rivalry hasn't surprised me. And it's something that I think is fantastic.
I think the only one that compares is Rangers Celtic.
I'm not interested in any other football club. I'm just interested in Sunderland, and Sunderland Newcastle. It won't be the same. I don't care if whatever it is. If you're into Sunderland, it's obviously Newcastle, and we've got to get ourselves where we are playing them, and then we've got to get ourselves where we're playing them and beating them.
Okay, this is the final question. It's a serious one.
Right.
So do you fear that if we go on a bad run of results one day, that our fans might turn up with banners and start shouting at bridal insurance?
No, but I have thought to myself that obviously I've heard the Stewart Donald song that the fans have sung. Well, I've worked out that it's very easy to change the name to a bit more aggressive than Go Back to Eastleigh if I get it wrong. So no, I don't worry about that. I think if the fans know I'm doing my best, it will give me longer. If I know it's Sunderland, and it's a thing that to a degree makes it more apprehensive for me and a little bit less enjoyable, is I know that we're 2 or 3 games away from disaster. If we lose 3 games in a row, I mean, the atmosphere in the football club might change a little bit. But I think if the fans know you're doing your best and you're going to the games and you're here, I think that's what Sunderland fans want. So I think they'll give me a little bit longer than they would do if I just turn up like it's a toy and I don't really care. So I think hopefully that will stand me in good stead. But I don't worry about that, because I think I'll be sensible enough. If the fans don't want me here, I won't be here. I'll be able to pick up when my time is done.
Good stuff. Okay. Well, we're all done here, so you'll not have anyone shouting at your shop. We're not like them up the road, so don't worry about that.
That's all right then.
So thanks for listening. I've been Connor Bromley, the host, and this is the 5th time. You'll probably be back on, I don't know, January.
Yeah.
Maybe post-January.
Ready for you to tell me about my signings.
Yeah, ready to tell you about signs. Obviously tomorrow we're going for a Mackey's.
Yes. Which
I'll video and I'll put that on the YouTube or the Twitter. So Stuart, thanks for coming on.
No, thanks for having me on.
Thanks for putting the football club back in a state where it's fun again for the first time.
I'm glad you enjoy. I mean, everybody is working really hard. We know what we got to do, and everyone is doing their best. And I think we'll get lots wrong, I'm sure, and we'll make those mistakes. But I think everyone will see that we're doing our best.
Yeah, cool. Okay, thanks. We'll also have the video. You'll be able to see my bald patch. Stuart's lucky that his bald patch is on the other side.
Yeah, no mirror behind me, is there?
Yeah, there's no mirror behind you, whereas me, I'm just going to be straight on there, so it's unfortunate. So thanks, Stuart, for coming on, and
pleasure.
I'm sure we'll have you on again in the future.